here in Fremont. Tonight is our last season show of football conversation here on Eagle 99. Our next broadcast out of Frickers will be on December 4 on Mondays as we shift to basketball season. Of course, basketball season is fully underway, the NBA, with a host of games on tonight. They had a couple games on yesterday. And then, of course, high school teams are starting to get their scrimmages and get in sync for that season. That'll happen soon enough. But on December 4th on Monday, we'll be back out here for basketball. But today is our final high school football coaches show for the season. So I'll be here tonight. My name's John Cullen, if you're not aware of who I am. And I want to give you a heads up on where our focus is going to be this first week of the high school playoff season on the BAS Sports Network. Fremont Ross will be on the road at Avon Lake on Eagle 99 on WFRO. Clyde will be at Rocky River, and that game will be on 92.1 The Wolf. Sandusky will be at Medina Buckeye on WLEC, and also FM 93.5 out of Sandusky. Vermilion doesn't have to travel too far. They get to go to Sandusky and take Perkins on 100.9 Coast Country. And then Ashland will travel and take on Columbian on WTTF, AM 600 and FM 93.3 in Tiffin. On Saturday, Walsh University will travel to Tiffin to take on the Dragons, and that is on WMJK. That's 11:30 pregame, 12 o'clock kickoff. Ohio State will be at Wisconsin, and that's on 92.1 The Wolf and also WLEC AM FM in Sandusky, and that's a 6 o'clock pregame and a 7 o'clock kickoff. And then Sunday, the Browns will be out west to take on Seattle, and that'll be a 4 o'clock kickoff for the Browns, who have announced today that their backup quarterback will be again on the field as Deshaun Watson is still nursing that bad shoulder. So we will see PJ back at quarterback for the Browns for his third week here in a row. Now, next Wednesday, of course today, is this show. We'll still have the Ryan Day show tomorrow. On Friday, we've got our football playoff games we've shared with you. On Saturday, we've got the Classics on the Wolf and Ohio State later on the Wolf. Then going into next week, we'll have our BGSU Falcons show. We'll have Ball State at Bowling Green on Wednesday the 1st. Ryan Day show on Thursday. Then hopefully more high school playoff games on Friday. So we'll have that for you right now. We'll give you the lineups of what we're expecting here in this first week. In Division 1, there's not as many schools in Division 1 as there are Division 5, 6, and 7. So you'll notice by some of these records. And they're going to travel and take on Findlay, number 3 ranked Findlay in the region, and Findlay at 8-2. So Olentangy Liberty at Findlay, and that'll be travel to Toledo Whitmer to take on the Panthers. Both those teams at 7-3, both in Division 1, both in Toledo. That should be a highly attended game. Should be a very good broadcast for those two teams taking on, of course, Perrysburg was number 10 in the final, and Toledo Whitmer was number 7. In Division 2, Toledo St. John's just got in at 16, and they're going to take on Avon. Avon 10-0, St. John's 4-6. Toledo start at 5-5. They generally struggle in their non-conference, but do well in conference. They're at 5-5, and they make it in at number 15. They'll take on White House Anthony Wayne, another very good program in Toledo. Cleveland Rhodes will travel to Sylvania and take on Sylvania Southview. Sylvania Southview at 7-3, Cleveland Rhodes at 5-4. Oregon Clay at 4-6. They finished at number 12. They'll travel to Olmsted Falls at 7-3. And Fremont Ross qualified at number 10. They'll take on number 7, Avon Lake, both at 6-4, and Fremont Ross at 4-6. Of course, again, we'll have that game on Eagle 99. Division 3, we've got some teams that are in play. Bowling Green at 5-5, they just squeak in, and they'll be at Toledo Central Catholic at undefeated Central Catholic. Ashland at 5-5, they just make it at number 14. They get to travel to take on a very good Tiffin Columbian team at 8-2. Clyde at number 12 at 5-5. They will travel to take on number 5 Rocky River, who is 9-1. They both had a common opponent this year, and that was Sandusky Perkins. Both teams getting defeated by Perkins. In fact, Perkins, the only loss on the Rocky River schedule. And then Sandusky at 6-4 will travel to Medina Buckeye, and they're at 8-2. And very good Sandusky team at 6-4. In Division 4, we've got another host of teams. We've got Vermilion out of the SBC. They're going to take on Sandusky Perkins, who's undefeated. Cleveland Central Catholic at 4-6 will travel all the way to Shelby, take on the Whippets at 8-2. It's a very good Shelby football team. Oberlin at Oberlin Firelands at 6-4 will travel to Galleon at 7-3. And Napoleon out of the Northern Lakes League Cardinal Division, they're at 5-5. They qualified at number 10, and they'll be at Bellevue. Bellevue finished at number 7 with a 5-5 record, primarily because Bellevue had beaten Shelby and Wauseon early in the year before their injury bug hit, and those two wins had kept Bellevue in a position where they end up getting a home field game, and that'll be Friday in Bellevue. Moving on to Division 5, a couple of teams in our area very much here. Elmwood at 3-7 will travel to Liberty Center at undefeated at 10-0. Spencerville at 3-7 will travel up to Edison. Edison having a great year. They're 9-1. Otsego at 4-6 is going to have a rematch with Oak Harbor, who finished at number 4 undefeated at 10-0. Marion Pleasant at 6-4, a good football team, will be at Eastwood, who finished 7th at 8-2. And another big game in the area, Genoa at 7-3 will travel. They finished 9. They'll travel to take on the Huron Tigers, also at 7-3. That'll be a huge matchup in Division 5. In Division 6, Lakota at 5-5. They just squeak in. They travel to number 1 Columbus Grove at 8-2. Seneca East at 5-5. They take on North Robinson Colonel Crawford, a tough team at 9-1. Ashland Crestview at 4-6. They'll be at Cary, another great team at 8-2. Margaretta gets in at number 11, and they'll go up to Ottawa Hills and take on Toledo Ottawa Hills. Castelia Margaretta at 6-4. Ottawa Hills at 9-1. And Winford at 6-4 will travel to Defiance to take on Tenora, who is 7-3. And then finally in Division 7, we have a couple teams. Montpelier at 7-3, finished at number 16. They squeak in, and they will get to travel to Bascom to take on Hopewell Loudon, the number 1 ranked team. That's undefeated at 10-0. And Convoy Crestview at number 15. They're 6-4, and they'll take on Tiffin Calvert Friday. In fact, there's going to be 2 games in Tiffin, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that the Columbian game will be at Frost Cal now, and the Calvert game will be at Heidelberg University, so they can accommodate both those home games on the same night. Now we're going to move forward a little bit and look at the final standings for our conferences that we cover. Of course, in the Northern Lakes League, this is the first year that they've moved to 2 divisions because of the breakup of the other leagues in the area, and they've consolidated here. And in the Buckeye Division, Anthony Wayne, Findlay, and Whitmer all finished tied for first place at 4-1. Anthony Wayne at 8-2, Findlay 8-2, Whitmer 7-3, but they're all 4-1 in the conference. Perrysburg finished at number 4 at 7-3, 2-3. Sylvania Northview 2-8, 1-4. Springfield 2-8, 0-5. Again, Liberty at Findlay, Start at Anthony Wayne, Perrysburg at Whitmer. In the Cardinal Division, where Fremont Ross has hung their hat, Southview wins it, going undefeated at 4-0. Napoleon at 5-5, 3-1 in the conference, finished second. Fremont Ross is third at 2-2, 4-6. Clay 1-3 and 4-6, and Bowling Green undefeated, 5-5 but winless in the league at 0-4. Ross at Avon Lake, Napoleon at Bellevue, another big game. Rhodes at Southview, Bowling Green at Central, Clay at Olmsted Falls. On the Sandusky Bay Conference in the Lake Division, quite a few teams made the playoffs. In fact, 4 of the top 5 did. Perkins undefeated. They won the league at 4-0. Columbian was second at 3-1. Of course, Perkins beat Columbia in the last game of the season to win that crown. Sandusky at 2-2, 6-4. Clyde at 1-3, 5-5, and Norwalk 3-7, 0-4 in the division. Clyde at Rocky River. Sandusky at Medina Buckeye. Vermilion at Perkins, Ashland at Columbia. In the Bay Division, another handful of teams that made it in: Edison, Huron, Bellevue, and Vermilion. Edison at 9-1, 4-0. Huron finished second at 3-1. Bellevue at 2-2. Port Clinton 1-3, and Vermilion winless in the division. Napoleon at Bellevue. Spencerville at Edison. Vermilion at Perkins. Genoa at Huron. That's a big game on Friday. In the River Division, where there's a lot of parity, Hopewell Loudon finished at 10-0, undefeated, 7-0 in the conference. Calvert was second at 8-1 and 5-1. Margaretta was 6-4, 5-2. Gibbsburg 5-5, 4-3. Lakota 5-5, 3-4. Willard at 4-6, 2-5. Woodmore 2-8, 1-6. St. Joe 0-10 and 0-7. Again, Montpelier at Hopewell. Convoy Cretchview at Calvert. Margaretta at Ottawa Hills, and Lakota at Columbus Grove. And then finally, in the Northern Buckeye Conference, Oak Harbor finished an undefeated season at 10-0, 7-0 in the conference. Eastwood 8-2, 6-1. Their only loss was to Oak Harbor. Genoa 7-3, 5-2 were third. Otsego 4-6 and 4-3. And the Maumee 5-5, 3-4. Fostoria 3-7, 2-5. Lake 2-8, 1-6, and Rossford 1-9, 0-7. Otsego at Oak Harbor. Genoa here in a big game here on Friday. And Mount Pleasant, yes, at Eastwood. So that gives you a lineup on what happened across our region and the teams that we follow and what we expect to see happen, and a lineup of the games that are going to be played. Now tonight we're going to talk to three of our coaches that have their teams in the playoff. We're going to start off with Mike Lento at Lakota. Then we're going to move to Ryan Carter at Clyde and finish up with Chad Long at Fremont Ross. Want to remind you, this is our last edition for this year of our Frickers High School Football Coaches Show, and you're going to continue to hear this live tonight here on Eagle 99. Frickers with a longtime fan of this show, and that's Mike Leno, head coach of the Lakota Raiders. And Michael, a couple things. You're Tiffin University Dragons are having a pretty good year.
They're having a great year. Absolutely.
Yeah, very good year, of course. And your Lakota Raiders find themselves at 5-5 this year, but you ended up finding a way to win a couple at the end of the year, and you get into the playoffs. And how's it feel for these kids to get to extend that season at least one more week?
You talk about it all year long about what your goals are, and Week 11 is one of those things. And our kids, answered the bell. We had to get to the situation where we had to win the last couple weeks, and we did that. And we definitely had to win Week 10, and we put that challenge on them, and they answered the bell. And here we are, find ourselves at Week 11. Practicing this week, we told the kids today, our younger kids, that why is Clyde so good, and why is Maria Steinmary local so good, and Versailles is so good. It's because their young guys get extra practices, and so to not downplay that. Especially
Right.
being young guys. The focus is on our team and what we're doing in the playoffs, but there's just so many parameters on when you're building a program on what's going to help you move to the next level of not just getting in, but getting in, winning, going to Week 12, Week 13, all those things, and then it transpires into the next year and the following year, and we're seeing that, and we couldn't be more excited to be in. Couldn't be more excited for our kids and our coaches.
Well, you think about it. I'm looking at your schedule here. Some of your losses, Monroeville was 7-3. You lost to them.
Yep.
Calvert and Hopewell, both two of the top-ranked teams in Division 7 in the state. You lost to both of them. All right, so then you had a loss against Gibsonburg at 5-5 and a good, well-coached Margaretta team.
Yep.
So you didn't have an easy way to get here. And the thing is, it only takes, a hundredth of a point to qualify.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Joe from Gibsonburg. He said they missed it by, 0.12.
It was close, yep.
And I reminded him that the year that Clyde won the state championship, I think it was like in 19, that they were 6-4 and they got in by 0.12.
Correct.
And ended up running the table and going the distance. So it is a matter of how battle tested are you, and
Right.
you're exactly right. When you have a team, let's use Perkins as an example. They're rolling right now. They're winning a lot of games by 30, 40 points. So their second and third strings are getting a lot of playing time on Friday nights. So by the time they step up next year, they've already got that extra year of transitioning to Friday night football and into the playoffs. And you're exactly right. When you get there, the teams that are there more often are the ones that acclimate themselves to it.
Yeah, you get more
and they
practice
acclimate
and
what
all
it
that
takes.
stuff, yeah.
You just get more reps, right? So, so you guys weren't in last year, but you were the year before. So, how is that affecting your kids that have been in the playoffs? What are they saying to you, and are they helping lead the other guys this week? Say, hey, listen, guys, this is special.
I don't think it's something that we're talking about is directly as far as like here's what we're at, and this we're doing, because we got young guys stepping up, we've got some older guys that had older guys with them that may not be a part of our program right now, and that's okay. But to see our guys step up and just continue to do what our coaches ask them to do, put them in that situation to be successful, is absolutely great to see as a program. I was talking to Coach Card out there for a minute, and just we've got a great coaching staff, and two of the guys in our coaching staff were a part of that 8-seed team that won a state championship.
Right.
So we're the 16 seed. And I was a guy kind of, when it first came out, like, is 16 seeds, but you know what? And I said this, is at Division 6 and Division 7, maybe even Division 5, but definitely Division 6 and Division 7, when you don't have a ton of numbers and you get an injury early, or you're playing a lot of young guys early, when do you start clicking? At the end of the season. When do you get guys back at the end of the season?
Right.
And I don't think we're a normal 16 seed. Meaning with our guys that are clicking right now, our guys that are, sophomores that are playing, our guys that are freshmen that are playing, they're now sophomores and they're now juniors because how late we're in the season. And we got some guys back who are just hungry to go play. And, we've hung our hat the last 2 weeks on one more time. We got one more time. And we talked about this, guys. You'll get around a table like this, and you'll be at a class reunion, and be like, I wish I just had one more
time.
Just one more.
Right.
And I go, this is your one more time. Because guess what? These seniors, you're going to graduate, and you're going to do some great things. You're going to become great parents. You're going to become great husbands. You're going to become great business people. And the Lakota Raiders program, they're going to continue to go and they're going to continue to do their thing. But guess what? This group in this huddle, this is your one more time.
Right.
This is it. This is your one more time. So how would you do your one more time if you could go back,
Right.
20 years and do it? And so
Right.
right now this is it. And so we've hung our
Right.
hat on that, and we've played some good football. We'd love to get the Margaretta game back because we just missed some
Sure.
opportunities there. And as a game we thought we could win, the score doesn't
Reflect it.
reflect how we played. But we've played our best football in the last 3 weeks, and we got to guess what? We got to play our best football game on
Yes.
Friday coming up.
You're going to take on Columbus Grove and travel over there, so you're going to get that bus ride. Sometimes a lot of coaches feel like getting on the road might help the kids focus a little bit more. Is that true?
Yeah, so we're trying to figure that out right now with we have an early release that day, and we've got teacher in service, and our administration has been fantastic at trying to kind of get some things ready to rock and roll for us. So we're going to feed the kids around 2 o'clock and do a little bit of walkthrough at 2:40, get on the bus at 3 o'clock because we're going into unfamiliar territory. We don't know, from the walk to the field what it's going to be
Right.
like. We've never been to Columbus Grove. Very storied program. We got some tough kids down there. We got some tough kids too, but we just want to go get them down there and get them settled in and be ready to rock and roll. And that's what playoff football is all about.
Well, you've been there. You know what it's like. You've seen it as a player. You've seen it as in college. Now you're seeing it as a coach, and your experience has added up over the years. How many years now have you been coaching high school football?
I believe I'm at 16 years now
Right.
coaching high school football. I'm at year 7 as a head coach.
Right. And so with all that in mind, that matters.
It does.
It does, because now there's always things that can happen that you've not seen before, but you've seen enough that you can help cut some of that stuff off in the past. We got to remember they're high school kids, right?
Yeah.
They're high school kids. But, I'll give you an example, just tell you how old I am. We're having our 50th class reunion next year.
There you go.
And when we get together, we're going to talk about that 7-6 loss to Gibsonburg in week number 2 of our senior year, that they ended up then going ahead and went and running the gamut, and they had their big celebration here recently, and
Yep.
and we should have won that game, but we didn't. And so you can't go back and take that over. So it is so important for kids to learn, whether it's here or whether it's in their career or in their family life. You don't want to. You just don't want to kind of push through that life experience. You want to grab it and get all you can out of it,
Yeah,
and then move forward and learn
Well,
from
I think
it,
so
right?
many times right now, especially in today's society, we want to hide that. We want to protect kids. We want to do this,
Yeah.
and so we've opened our kids up. We let them know exactly what our game plan is. We got to we have to play very good football.
Yep.
And we're going to have to make sure we don't let them hit home runs. We need to go for singles and doubles. We're
Yeah.
Put it in baseball terms. Let
Yeah,
them go singles and
small the
doubles.
game down a
Singles
little
and
bit.
doubles, and that's what we're going to do. Limit their home runs. If they hit a home run, that's okay. We'll get back. We don't need to go back and hit a home run.
No.
We need to make sure we go for our singles and doubles, and we just grind the game out.
Right.
And our kids are playing physical football. We're going against a physical team, and they know that. But I'll tell you what, our coaches have done a fantastic job getting our kids prepared. Our kids have been awesome. But I couldn't be more proud of all the coaches we've got around our program. And I think that's one of the toughest things is making sure you've got great guys around your program, from top to bottom, from administration to our coaches, to get our kids ready and prepared. And I couldn't be more proud of our coaches that we have right now to get our kids rocking and rolling.
Well, how about special teams, and how important are special teams in the second season? I mean, yeah, I always tell, I've done this for a long time, and I'll watch a game, and I'll see things kind of pan out. Well, there's a higher seed, so you expect that they could win, but all of a sudden that lower seed, tastes a little blood in the water, or they're like, hey, we could play here, or they go down and get a score, or there's a turnover, or they kick a field goal. All of a sudden, that whole how do I want to say it? That adrenaline kicks in, and all of a sudden, your belief system kicks in. And all of a sudden, we can play here.
Yep.
And you don't want to do that to a team that's that's a higher seed coming in on the road. You give them a chance that they think they can win on the road, they very well can.
Yeah.
Right. And it's one of those things that if you're not playing full go, it's hard to put yourself in that position.
Correct.
Right?
100%. Yep. And that's what we talked about our kids is tonight. We listen, momentum's going to get on our side.
Right.
And it's going to be for us. And when we get it, I hear people, and we hear people talking, oh, man, you got to go play this team, and you got to go play that team. Oh, you're the 16 team. Well, we're in. That's all.
You're playing.
That's all we wanted to do was get in And we've got, guess what? We've got kids that believe right now. And there's nothing more dangerous than kids that can believe. You go back to World War II, right? And you go back to Vietnam and all those things. And what made those generals really good was that, guess what? They got 15 and 16 and 17-year-old kids that went into the draft to believe that they can go win, no matter what it was.
Right.
They can go believe, and I'm going to take my infantry, and we're going to go out there and we're going to go win.
Right.
That's why they wanted 15, 16, and 17, 18-year-old kids.
Right.
Because you know what? You'll get them to believe enough, they're going to go.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing. You look at the battle test on the football field. It's the
Same thing.
same thing.
Same
And it
thing.
takes that one that gets them to go.
Yeah.
Coach is right.
Coach is
Okay,
right. We
General
got
is
this.
right. Let's get it going.
Somebody makes a play, you look at
Yeah.
each other like, hey, yeah. So
Yep, and it could be a field goal, it could be a
that's
fumble,
what I mean.
it could be whatever.
Special
and
teams,
just
it
let's
could be
go.
any number of things that kind of ignite the
The fire.
the fire
in your
in the
belly
team to where all of
and
a
get
sudden it
momentum
kicks
on
in.
your
Yeah,
side.
absolutely. Well, you're going to go travel to Columbus Grove. How far of a drive is that for you
That's
guys?
not too. It's about an hour and 20 minutes probably on the bus.
So that's not too bad.
Nope.
Well, we'll wish you guys the best. Hope you come away with an upset win there. It's happened before. It can happen again. And hope that you guys go down there and have that experience that you're talking
And we
about.
appreciate that. Our kids are excited, and our coaches are
Well,
excited,
they
and our
should be.
community is excited.
Well, they should be. Because
Absolutely.
Lakota deserves and belongs in the playoffs.
Well, it's not about deserve. We earned it.
Well, that's what I mean.
You know,
You
so we
deserve
told the
it. You
kids
earned
that.
it.
Everybody's like, oh, you've done this, you've been through this, you deserve it. Well, listen, that was a couple years ago. It's no longer deserving.
Right.
These kids have earned it. They've earned
Right.
it last 2 weeks. They earned it last week in week 10. You win, you're in. We told them, you win,
Yeah.
you're in. And they won. And they won soundly. They won doing what we wanted to do, executing wise, offensively and defensively and special teams wise. And so here we are. Let's make it happen.
All right. Well, best wishes to you. And this is our last coaches show, but it doesn't mean we're not going to pay attention and keep an eye on you.
Oh, I appreciate that,
All
guys.
right.
Yep.
Okay, buddy. Well, we appreciate it. All right. That's Mike Leno of Lakota Raiders wishing him the best against Columbus Grove here on Friday. We take a time out. We'll be back and bring in Ryan Carter of the Clyde Flyers as they qualify also in the tournament. And we'll have Ryan Carter right after this timeout. Let's do our Frickers High School Coaches Show live on Eagle 99. Frickers, our second guest and longtime friend of the program, Coach Ryan Carter of the Clyde Flyers. Ryan, you guys had a 5-5 record this year. You went through some real challenges. Every coach does, but you had a lot of untimely injuries early in the year. That kind of woke up a few fans and people realizing, hey, this is a pretty tough schedule that these guys are playing, which it was. And you end up finishing the year going 5-5. You qualify for the tournament. You're going to take on Rocky River at 9-1, and you have one common opponent, and that's the Perkins Pirates. So go figure, right? That's going to happen. So let's just talk about your game last week against Norwalk. I thought that you probably, how do I say this? I thought that offensively, defensively, and special teams, you probably had your most continuity that I'd seen in a while.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Part of that was we were able to get some kids comfortable, throughout the last couple of weeks in their spots.
Right.
Now, you roll out there in the first quarter and you lose your tailback and you lose your starting wide receiver and your safety. So you had to mix some things around. I thought we did a good job of adjusting to that in that first quarter. Coming out and getting off to a good start, which we hadn't been able to do in the last couple of games, was key for us. So, I was proud of our kids, John, for coming into that last week and still committing to it and still, buying into what we're trying to do and giving us everything they have. And we got out of there with a win. And got ourselves into the playoffs, and you never know. We're playing a very, very good football team, but our kids are putting in a good week of work, and the extra week of practice is always huge. When you get more time with your young kids and you get more reps on scout team and you get more reps throughout the week with guys that have played significant roles this year, it's huge. And the more time you can play, the more time you have, the more of an advantage you have on somebody that's not playing. So. We look at it that way. Every chance you get to go out and practice is a day gained towards next year. So we're excited about it. We're excited about going to a different stadium, someplace we haven't played. And we played this team back in 2018. It didn't turn out very well for us. We were a 1 seed. They were an 8 seed.
Right.
They came in and got after us, and our kids know that, and hopefully we can turn the tide on them.
Well, in the year after, you guys kind of reversed the fortune.
Yeah.
And things didn't turn out too bad for you that year either.
No, they didn't.
So, the funny thing is we talked about this, and Mike Leno alluded to it. He said, he says, when I'm talking to our kids, say, listen, you guys want to be a program like Clyde, you want to be a program like some of these other schools. The reason why is because they're young kids and I'm getting extra reps, whether it's extra games, extra practice, extra scout team, or whatever, not just getting playing time due to necessity, but because of it's an affordable situation where you can do that. Well, early in the year, you had a couple big wins where start and wait where you could get some kids in, and, Port Clinton, but then you ran into a string of teams after you had your key injuries that it was just hard to get over the hump. But then last week you got some kids in, and, you had some sophomores that really contributed significantly in this last win, which means that they're not sophomores anymore.
Yeah.
They have earned enough reps that they have kind of crossed over to that a little more of a stabilizing force, right?
Yep.
And when that happens, it helps make up for, the other things and challenges that you have. So tell me about Rocky River. What do we know? What kind of offense are they going to throw at you?
Well, they're They have a very big, strong-armed quarterback that can throw it very far down the field, does a good job with his RPO stuff. And then they have a couple of little jet guys inside that they hand it to every once in a while that really catch you by surprise, and they're really, really fast and athletic. They play. They play with a swagger. They play with an edge. And they play with confidence, thinking they're going to win or be successful on every single play that they are involved in. So we have to be able to go to their place. We have to be able to hold our own, withstand those first couple punches, stay in the game, make it a 4-quarter game. Because if you look at their scores,
Right.
and honestly, we've watched about 9 out of their 10 games, and they. Score some points and they score them in bunches. So we got a task cut out for us on the defensive side of the ball, but I think that also carries over to offense by hanging on the ball, not turning it over, and being able to grind out first downs, keep their offense off the field.
Well, that's your best defense in many cases, and not letting them catch momentum.
Yep.
Because, like you're right, when someone's, when it clicks, it's hard to stop something like that. But on the other hand, we know that the Clyde guys and everybody will say this, that if your kids show up and let them know they're going to be in a contest, that can affect things too. Is to just let them know. So you're going to need everybody defensively and offensively to be on their game in order to come away with a potential win against Rocky River. Of course, you're on the road. How does your team travel in reference to the home games? Do you notice any difference in their focus?
No, John, I was thinking about this, talking to the wife about it the other night. I was really, really happy and pleased with the progress of our team through that week, week 4, week 5 area. And, we just ran into, and I'll take it on my shoulders 100%. We ran into some injuries and to some key spots. And I didn't. I should have adjusted a little bit better, and adjusted our team and our offense and our defense to what we had at that point in time. I continued to kind of try to run the same stuff on both sides of the ball, without the personnel that we started the season with.
Gotcha.
And I think that was maybe not putting kids in the best spot that we possibly could have. So we continued to shuffle people in and out of the lineup and try to figure out, what we were good at and what we weren't good at. So I think we got a better feel for that at the end of the season, just in practice and what we feel like we can have success with. And that's going to have to ring true on Friday night if we want to put ourselves in a ball game, because they stretch you, they put you in tough situations where it's one-on-one. You got to make open field tackles, and that's something we've struggled at this year. And then we have to be able to move the football and continually put points on the board, which is something we've struggled at this year too. So it'll be a task for us. We know that, but we're excited to go on the road to a different environment. The common opponent was Perkins, so it'll be something different for our kids, and we're excited for it.
It'll be a good experience because, as we said, and people ask me about you guys, and I say, listen, they were forced to play a lot of kids out of position into a new position, which is hard to get continuity when you're, because of necessity, you're playing linebacker when you really should be, a cornerback, or vice versa. And a lot of younger people, which means next year you have a little bit of head start on the game because you got some younger people that have really performed well. But, of course, your seniors and everybody else have played exceptionally too. So, and it's kind of funny you're talking about, we're in the middle of the season. I'm trying to run my system with what I had personnel-wise. I was thinking about, all the controversy in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
And so they got, PJ back there quarterbacking. And, I mean, obviously he has to tailor that offense for him.
Yeah, a little differently now.
A little differently now. Yeah, absolutely, because everybody in the national news, they're all saying if Cleveland gets any kind of quarterback play at all, they're really good.
Yeah, well, our defense is about as good as I've seen and about as good as it gets, to be honest with you. And I know we gave up a ton last week to who'd we go?
Indianapolis.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of fluke stuff, and there's just a blown coverage, just missed tackles, guys running into each other.
I think we're going to be in every single football game because our defense is that good. But and knowing that we gave up a ton to Indy last week.
Yeah, and the funny thing was Stefanski says, they asked him about Garrett, and he said, well, he goes, I don't know if there's another level yet to play, but if there is, he's playing at it.
Yeah, he's
so,
pretty good.
Well, it helps give the rest of your guys the – hey, listen, we've got to play better mentality, because you see guys that are getting paid lots of money that are really putting out and playing their game.
They're putting it out there. And that's the thing. When your leaders and your highest profile people lay it out there for you and do everything for you, lay it on the line, you tend to be pretty good.
Well, and that's the same here in high school. When your kids, I know Miracle went down. Now let's talk about that. Do we have any of the kids coming back that got hurt?
Well, we think, we're not 100% sure yet. They've did some rehab this week. They've been out there a little bit, but it's going to be they're going to be game time decisions.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of game time decisions, so we're going to get up there in pregame. We're going to put them through the rigor and see how they look in pregame, and if they can roll, they do. If they don't, then we're going to have to put somebody else out there.
Yeah, and at least you know who to put out there.
That's exactly right.
You've had more than enough opportunities.
We have.
So tell me, what's the one thing in this season that really kind of caught you by surprise? And I'm saying more in a positive sense than in a negative sense.
Well, I go back to the same thing that I talk about all the time with how good our league is, and the quality of football that's played in our league. It has you ready for the playoffs, no matter if you're 5-5 or if you're 10-0. And we have both ends of those spectrum. I mean, if you look at our Lake Division, we have everybody but one in the playoffs.
Right.
And Norwalk was dang close. I think Coach Moore is doing a nice job over there. We talked going into that last week, and he's had some injuries too. He's gone through some flux, but he played a bunch of young kids, and I think they're going to be good down the road. I think he's doing the right things. But you play that many playoff teams.
Right.
I mean, if you look at our schedule, and I'm not 100% sure, but I know Bellevue's in, I know Cardinal Mooney's in, I know
Right.
Perkins is in, I know Columbian's in, I know
Sandusky.
Sandusky and Norwalk are in.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure on Toledo start. I don't know if they got in.
5, 6.
I'm gonna guess
7. Yeah, Start is in because they're playing
Okay.
Anthony Wayne.
Okay, so
And
Wait,
So you had 1,
Wait,
2,
and Port
3.
Clinton
Yeah.
and Norwalk.
Yeah. So
7 out of our 10 are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I mean that's.
That
And
tells you something.
I know with 16 teams getting in, a lot of people make it, but you're still playing quality opponents every week and playoff teams every week. It's tough.
yeah. Well, we wish you guys the best. Of course, we'll have that call
Awesome.
on 92.1 The Wolf. Myself and the infamous Mike Martin will
Yep.
be with me in
Yep.
the color commentary. Jim Kettner on the sideline, and we'll have that game for everybody on
Well,
92.1.
JC, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned we appreciate your guys' coverage and especially your crew with you and Mike and the rest of those guys that help out and all the coverage all year and it's special for our kids and a couple of shout outs because I know this is the last radio show.
Right.
My kids that are out here and the little ones that are home sleeping and my wife who is putting them to bed. That's always a tough task. And then my parents who haven't missed a game since my sophomore year in college when I went to the University of Florida and played Dante Culpepper in
Right.
UFC and UCF, and that's the only game they've missed in my college and coaching career. So, they make every single week, and they're going to travel up the Rocky River again this week, and really, really proud of them and thankful for the support that I have.
Well, it takes a village sometimes, and obviously when you come from towns like Clyde, if there's a game on or there's something happening, the city's behind you, and that really does matter, folks.
It does.
Believe me.
It does.
I've done a lot of games where teams have traveled from Toledo down here, and there might be 50 people in the stands.
Yeah.
It's hard for your team to get motivated when you just don't have that
Yep.
support.
I agree.
But you do here, so we appreciate it, Cart.
Thanks,
and,
John.
and I'll be talking to you on Friday night, and best wishes.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Right,
it.
that's Ryan Carter, head coach at Clyde, and he'll be taking on, of course, he's going to be taking on Rocky River on Friday night. All right, we'll take our final timeout. We'll come in and bring in Chad Long of the Fremont Ross Little Giants as they will take on Avon Lake, and that will be on Friday night on Eagle 99. Stay tuned. You're listening to our Frickers High School Coaches Show live at Frickers on Eagle 99. without getting a little notice about that. So Chad Long with me, longtime friend of the program, and of course I've known this guy for quite a long time. And here you are. This is total high school coaching. How many years for you?
Total 21.
21. So you've seen a lot of playoff football. You've seen a lot of what's going on. Your little Giants end up at 4-6. Some tough losses. You had one stretch there where you're playing all the Division I teams. Perrysburg, Whitmer, Findlay just kind of got rough for you in there, and then lost a heartbreaker in Findlay, and then lost that heartbreaker at Napoleon. That kind of hurt you guys.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden now you've 3 out of your last 4. You get in, and you guys get to live to play another day. How's the team overall feel about where they're at and what's going on with them?
Well, I feel that, the kids are real confident in the way the offense has been playing. So that
Yeah, you scored some points.
we've scored some points, and we really don't count the weight thing, but it's
Right.
more about what we're doing and how we're staying to it. And the kids are real confident in what we're doing, running the ball. Obviously, the last 3 weeks we've been really, really running the ball a lot. J.D. Moncrief has had 2 out of the last 3 weeks, 200-yard games. So, I mean, he's really running the ball well. The kids are excited. A lot of people, the kids say, well, they didn't think we'd win more than one game this year, and I don't care what anyone says. If we get in, we get a chance, and I like our chances against Avon Lake. This is not the Avon Lake of when I played or when
Sure.
I coached at Tiffin Columbian. It's a different thing. They're going through a lot of injuries. We actually lost 2 of our better players in last week's game. Elijah Sims is out with a fractured ankle, and Owen Shanahan will be out as well with a knee injury.
So I'm looking at Avon Lake, and of course, people ask me, what do you know about them? I said, well, 9 out of 10 times they're pretty darn good.
Mhm.
And they finished the season at 6-4, but their last 3 losses
Yeah.
were against teams that were 7-3, 7-3, and 10-0.
Yep.
So they, even though they lost,
Oh,
they play. They're battle tested.
yeah, they are. Their schedule's tough. You go through that conference and the teams they play, you can look through their schedule. You can't just look at it and say, 6-4,
Right.
and they lost the last 3 games. It's tradition.
Look at them.
You look at the tradition in which Avon Lake has and what they have accomplished as a program, and know that this is going to be a dogfight.
Well, it is. And so talking about your running back who's had such, I saw some replays,
Yeah.
and I went, oh, man, that's somebody who wants the end zone.
Yeah, I've been telling
I mean,
everyone.
seriously.
Listen, he has 900 and 40 some yards or so, and he's missed 2.5 games.
Right.
So we have known JD could do this for the last 2 years, and he just finally got his opportunity this year. After having injuries early in the season, and this is what we see, and what you guys see on the field is what we see every day in practice when he's on scout team and everything else running the ball. It's hard to bring this kid down.
Well, it must be center of gravity thing, too, because, a lot of running backs, when they get hit in the thigh or in the waist, if their center of gravity is a little bit lower, they have a tendency to be able to break through that versus, fall down. But I will tell you, I'm looking at this division, too, and they always have you guys paired up with the west side of Cleveland. Is that how it's always been in this region?
Yeah. I mean, it's a majority of, in our region, a majority of them come from, the Cleveland side.
The west side of Cleveland.
The west side of Cleveland. And then you always throw in, Anthony Wayne,
Sure.
ourselves, maybe a St. John's in there.
Right.
And that's it. That's usually the makeup. We have Clay, who's making their second appearance as well.
Yeah, you
But-
guys start St. John's, Clay, Fremont Ross are all, in that region, 6, Division 2.
But that conference swallows up all, when it was the 8,
Right,
they would have 5 of the 8.
right.
Because they beat up on each
Yeah,
other.
to beat
and
up on
things
each
like
other.
that.
Yeah, and that happens a lot up this way too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? Tell me, if you can. I asked this of Ryan Carter. Said, what's the one thing this year that caught you by surprise, and not necessarily in a negative way, but could be in a positive way or just something that happened that really kind of caught you a little bit this year?
Sevens, we did such a great job taking care of the ball. And we have had over 20 turnovers on the offensive side this year. And lo and behold, and we've created 19 on the defensive side. But lo and behold, when the biggest thing is we beat ourselves this year. When we turned the ball over, we lost. When we didn't turn the ball over, we won. So out of the 4 games that we won, we didn't turn the ball over at all. And 6 games that we lost, numerous turnovers. So 6 games, 20 turnovers.
Right.
That's
And
a lot.
that's
That's
what-
hard
that's-
to win.
that's what
so,
caught you.
So if I had to say anything caught me, I'd say that caught me, as a surprise of something that occurred that I would have never guessed would happen.
But that's the kind of thing that could put you in a 2 or 3 week tailspin.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's look at your numbers. That you guys, your first and third quarters were your lowest scoring. Your second quarters and fourth quarters, your fourth quarter your highest.
Yeah.
So you were outscored 300 to 278. That's a small margin. You total offensive yards more than all your opponents. A number of plays about 25 less. So that means you got more yardage per play.
Yeah.
Right. Completions, more completions than any of your opponents. Your passing yards were almost even.
Yep.
Touchdown interceptions, you had 7 more interceptions than your opponents. Touchdowns were the same. Rushing attempts, a little bit more on the other side, but you rushed for more yards, which means, again, you get more per individual play.
Yep.
Receptions, you had more. Receiving yards were close. The turnovers, 20 to 19, but it's when they happen. And really, other than the interceptions, you guys kind of matched up really well or better than most of the people you played.
Yeah. So statistically speaking, we had 6 punt returns or kickoff returns called back due to penalties this year, and we only had 2 that actually counted. So,
Right.
Austin Bakers did a really good job on our special teams. So, I mean,
Oh,
6.
he's helping you coach on that
Yeah,
side.
he's all special teams for us, and he coaches the freshman team. But 8 touchdowns we've had on special teams on either kickoff return or punt, and only 2 of them's counted. So, that's where, you could look at that and say we could have had, 36 more points that would have put
Yeah,
us
36
higher.
more points would have brought you close in a few of these games.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially Finley and Napoleon, both those squads,
yeah,
and even with Whitmer.
Yeah.
So it's tough when that happens, but there's always an indicator, but it's not always statistics. But when it happens in bunches, self-inflicted wounds are the most painful.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you ever hurt yourself? You hit
Yeah.
yourself with a hammer, bang your head, like, dang it.
And you know it, and you're
you know
like,
it, and it's like, oh
geez."
man, this hurts so bad. Yeah, it's different than somebody else is doing it
Yeah.
versus if you do it to yourself.
And in reality, our kids know we can beat ourselves. That's
Yeah.
the only team that can beat ourselves, is us.
Right.
And there's only one team I can say on our schedule that totally kicked the crap out of us, and that was Perrysburg.
Right.
Perrysburg dominated us, and the rest of the teams, we beat ourselves.
So tell me what's going to be the keys to taking on Avon Lake. Of course, you're there, but what will be the keys in that ball game for you guys to be able to win that one?
2 keys for the defensive side is number 1 playing for Avon, who's
Right.
a 3 or 4 star receiver, who's been out with a collarbone / shoulder injury. So that'll be a key factor in what we play on defense, whether we're in a 30 or a 40 defense.
Right.
And the running back, who's been out injured as well. So they've been hit with the injured bug as well.
Okay.
So the record is probably deceiving, knowing that they have a 3-4 star receiver that's been out as well. So tackling, I would say on defense, what personnel they got on the field on their offense, being Avon's, determines what we're going to get into on our defense. So
Okay.
the key is, are those guys playing? What formations they're in determines what kind of front and so forth we're going to have on defense. On the offensive side for Fremont, I would say it comes down to taking care. They're very, very good up front in the front four. I wouldn't say very, very good. I think we've seen linemen on the defensive side that are better than this group, but they're very solid.
Right.
And I think our line play on the offensive side has improved immensely throughout the year. And being able to establish the running game is going to be the key. If we can establish a running game, it'll open up more for the passing game. And I really believe Carson Caden has played excellent in the last 3 games with taking care of the ball and putting the ball in the place for the receivers. And, I think that's credit to Jalen Slick and the offense coordinator and the offensive staff for establishing and staying with what works best for Fremont. And that's running the ball, which opens up the pass.
Well, you're a different offense than last year.
Oh, for
You know,
sure.
Different
Night and
offense.
day. Night
and
and
day. And so for Caden too. I mean, think about it. It takes a good handful of games to find out, to get your mind and body to come into one when you're playing, because you have
Absolutely.
to make those decisions at the last second. You've got to tell yourself, got to hang on this ball. I need to get rid of it, whatever it is. I need to get this. And once you get that and that happens, confidence can rise up and not be afraid. Not be afraid to throw that pass because you're not afraid of interception, because you know that's where it's going to be, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot has to do from one offense coordinator to a new offense coordinator.
sure.
Because you got to understand, BAP was with us last year,
Right,
and now you're bringing in a whole new system
right.
with a new verbiage. A lot of the same formations, different verbiage. And, another key is going to be, how are we going to react? Not having Elijah Sims and
Right.
not having Owen Shanahan on both
Right.
sides of the ball.
Right.
And, those are 2 big playmakers on the offensive side. Elijah leading the team in receiving yards and touchdowns. And Owen was sitting third in receptions and yards. But crucially, we lose Owen, who was our special team guy that caught all the punts along with Jadrian Brown. But Owen's the one that had the touchdown on a punt return and the touchdown on a kick return
Right.
that we're losing on special teams.
Right.
So, and have Elijah, who caused havoc all over the defensive side, and Owen, who's the for sure tackle guy, gone on the defense. How are these freshmen going to step up?
Right.
Because we're going to have 2 freshmen playing.
Yeah. Well,
So,
welcome to Friday night, right?
yeah, that's right. That's why, as coaches, young coaches out there, you always prep and you prepare your backups and everyone else, because you never know what can happen.
Well, we wish you the best. Have a good, safe drive up there to Avon Lake, and let's hope that the Little Giants can pull one off there. You guys are going to be on Eagle 99. Clyde will be at Rocky River on 92.1. Sandusky at Medina Buckeye on LEC. Sandusky, a pretty interesting football team. Vermilion at Perkins on 100.9, and Ashland at Columbian. And that'll be our lineup on the BAS Sports Network. So you and I always throw one little football conversation in here in the pros. So we got P.J. Walker at quarterback. I highly doubt that the Browns defense is going to look like they did this last week in Seattle. I think that they're going to – if I know their coach, I think they'll fix whatever they didn't have working right.
Yeah. It was kind of unique, the defense would play in spurts of really good defense, create turnovers, do something, and Myles Garrett will jump over, block a field goal, and all this stuff. But then they gave up a lot of yards, and it seemed like Indianapolis found some weaknesses in the defense and they exploited those, or they were just had an off week.
I think they had an off week.
You're talking a team that flies around and makes plays, and I didn't see that really happen, only in spurts of how that happened. But the key is offense. Walker, running backs being injured. What are they going to do? And I have all trust in Walker. I think Walker brings a spark, and I think he's going to move us along the rest of the way. I can't foresee. I can feel by the emotions and stuff when Walker came in, when Watson went down. You saw a spark in the offense. And I don't know if it's something in the locker room and that's going on, but I don't think these guys trust Watson. And
I think that they're expecting him to do something that he hasn't done yet. And I think because of that, there's still the jury's out there.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when Walker comes in, it's kind of like, It's like in that movie, The Replacements.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
the one quarterback crosses a picket line and then Keanu Reeves comes in and takes
Yeah.
them and they win. That's how it feels when Walker came in.
You know, can I say he's going to take a Super Bowl? No.
No.
He's not going to do that.
No.
No matter how good your defense is, it's going to be hard to do that. But if you look back when Philadelphia, when they won the Super Bowl, they went with the backup.
Right.
Was it Goff? Or who?
No,
who?
it was Foles. Nick
Yes,
Foles.
Nick Foles came in and ran
Right.
that RPO stuff,
Right.
and that was like a dream, you
Right.
know, that came through, and he was able
Thanks
to.
to Nick Roth for that.
Yes,
for that.
thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. And they were able to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? They won it that
Yeah.
year, correct?
That's
So-
when they did the Philly special.
So then he became, and he wasn't even a starter, but he knew the system and he
Right.
ran it to the T. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with some free agent and some things. And
Yeah,
what
well,
they're
the
gonna-
trade deadline is up in
Trade
the next week,
deadlines,
so
yeah.
let's see what they do.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks so much, Chad. We wish you the best of luck on Friday. And want to thank everybody that's been tuning in. Obviously, if you want to, you can always go to our YouTube page, and these are all recorded and saved there. If anybody wants to see them or review them. And we'll be back on Monday nights on December 4th for the basketball version. But this is the last coaches show. And I want to thank Mike Leno, Ryan Carter, Chad Long, Nick over there helping us, our on-site engineer, Nick Roth, and also back at the board, Shelby Rice, handling the dials for us to keep this thing on the air. So John Cullen saying good night, everybody. Thanks for being with us during the football season. We look forward to seeing you, but don't be afraid to listen to our broadcast games here during the tournament. And if you have the ability, get in your car and go watch these teams play. They need your support, and we thank you for your support of high school football. So this has been the Fremont Frickers High School Coaches Show. You heard it live here tonight on Eagle 99. Good night, and God bless.